don't even have a lot of time to talk. That's how much I want to be able to talk to these guests that I have today. But I do want to start with this. Shout out to Reggie Bush. I heard they're giving him his Heisman back. And I don't really particularly care what you think or whether you believe he should get his Heisman back. Because if you're somebody who doesn't believe that he should get his Heisman back, then you're a goofy, right? Like you're one of those people who don't like when somebody gets like a tax break that you didn't get. You're somebody that gets mad when somebody gets a student loan forgiven, but you weren't able to get it. What Reggie Bush did or did not do before this age of name, image, and likeness doesn't matter. What matters is that in today's game, the stuff that Reggie Bush was accused of doing or his family was accused of doing would have been perfectly okay today, right? And the idea that they thought, oh, well, let's take his Heisman away as punishment for whatever they feel he did was laughable to start with. The audacity to believe that somehow the award is tarnished because some kid who was poor, some kid who didn't have a lot of money got a little money to play the game. It certainly didn't hurt USC's jersey sales when Reggie Bush was there. It didn't hurt their ticket sales when the teams were winning championships or going to BCS championships. It didn't hurt Pete Carroll from getting a head coaching job with the Seahawks. It didn't hurt Lane Kiffin from getting his first head coaching job. It didn't hurt Steve Sarkisian from getting his first head coaching job. There are so many people, Norm Chow, there are so many people who were able to create a better life for themselves off of the work that Reggie Bush did at USC that it's laughable that they thought, oh, well, let's take his Heisman away. I also think it's interesting because now that you give it back or that you're going to give it back, is it going to come with some apologies? Hey, Reggie Bush, we apologize about making you look like a criminal to the world. We apologize about making it seem as if you did something wrong when in essence, everybody was doing it. Everybody had their hand in the cookie jar. Is it going to come with an apology to Cam Newton for not allowing his father to come to the ceremony because of what you thought he may have done? Is it going to come with an apology to all of the people that you shunned because you thought that they may be taking some money? Where's the apology for Hugh Freeze, right? A lot of people think that Ole Miss team that he put together was done with money on the low. Where's the apology to him? When are we going to start going around and handing out the, oh, my bads? Like, it's one thing to do an action that makes things right. It's another to accept responsibility for why the action needs to be put right in the first place. I've got a lot to say on this, but I don't have time. We're going to take a quick break. And when I come back, I am going to be joined by Clep Napier of Clep CX and Critics. We're going to be talking at length about this new movie, Challengers. I am really, really excited about it. I got a chance to see an early screening. It is Zendaya coming into her own. If you don't know already, I love that woman, and I'm not even ashamed about it. Like, she is the it woman in Hollywood right now, and we're going to come back and talk about this movie that's a sports movie, and I get to talk about sports, and I get to talk about movies with one of my best friends. Stay tuned. This is Talk Spicy on the Riptide Media Network.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding.
Whoa!
Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens, Riptide Media Networks. I am joined by one of the best in the business doing this movie reviews. If you don't like your movie reviews all stale and bland and watered down, if you want some real talk by somebody who really loves movies, who really loves pop culture, who really understands it, who lives it, there's nobody other than my boy Clep Napier of wearecritics.com. You can follow him everywhere at ClepCX. Anywhere you're trying to do your thing at. Yo, Clep, I appreciate you joining me, man.
Nah, thank you for having me, bro. You know, we family here, man. We family. So anytime, anytime.
For people who don't know, we go way back now because we're old, right? Like that's what happens when you get old.
You start getting these, you know.
Yeah. I like it. I always call it. So my grades on the side, I call them my Reed Richards.
I like that.
yeah. And anytime I say it to a woman, I can tell whether or not we're gonna like click if she knows the reference. If she don't know the reference, it's not gonna work out. Like
she's either too young or not cool enough.
Yeah, she's either too young or she is not in tune with the things that I'm in tune with. It's probably not gonna work out. For all of you who don't know, like Clep goes and sees these movies super early because he's plugged in and they invite him to go check it out, and so he can give his reviews and things. And so I wanted to say it was almost like midnight, and I get a phone call.
Yeah.
And my boy Clep says, "Hey yo, AK, you gotta see this movie. Like this is for us." He says, "This movie is for us." And I go, "What you talking about?" He's like, "Yo, challenges. I get giddy because I was like, yo, I'm looking forward to seeing that movie. Like, I'm looking forward to it. Any one of you who knows, y'all know Zendaya is one of my like ones, you know, of the younger, bright future, you know, A-list female lead actresses out there. I also happen to think she's gorgeous. Let's just get that out the way. But I really do think that she's one of the most talented people in Hollywood right now. And so I got excited about it, and I got more excited because it was a movie that allows me to blend, right, my love of sports and my love of sport and everything together. So, you know, when he called me up, he said, "Hey, yo, you got to see it. This thing is phenomenal." I said, "Say less." And literally a day later, AMC popped up an early viewing. And so on Monday, I went to see the movie. And the movie, you know, the movie comes out in theaters everywhere on April 26th, this Friday. I'm sure there'll be some early showings in places where you are. So wherever you're listening to this at, go and check your theater for early showings. Yeah, there might be some today. You want to watch this movie, because when I watched it, I immediately called him and went, "Oh, we got to talk about it.
Yeah,
we got to talk about it." So,
yeah.
Without. All right, so there's no way I'm not giving up some spoilers. So I wanna preface that for all of you people here. We are here to talk about this movie. I don't believe any of the spoilers that we give up is going to spoil the movie for you, because there's nothing in this movie that's like a revelation or a reveal. Like, I believe if you're intelligent enough to understand, this is going to be evident to you from from essentially 15 minutes into the movie. Like, you're going to realize what this is.
I think the only possible thing that could be spoiled is perception, because most people are going to go in this and see one thing or understand it a different way than someone else would understand it, or you know what I mean. So we could sway your thought process.
I'm gonna rely on you to pull me back and go, hey, leave it, let him.
I mean, you gave them fair warning, and I'm all for it. I mean, we got to talk, like, because it's bottled up, and I already did my review for the movie. I did a spoiler-free review, so if you want a spoiler-free review, you guys can go check that out on my YouTube or wearecritics.com. Just look for reviews, and it's in there. I have a written and video, non-spoiler.
Yeah, absolutely.
But right now,
make sure you go and check that. Make sure you go and subscribe to that YouTube channel, ClepCX. On YouTube, for all of your reviews on all of the movies. He's also high on Boy Kills World, so you're gonna want to go and check that out too. But we ain't got no time for that. We got time for challenges today. Tell everybody a little bit about the movie, like what the premise of the movie is supposed to be.
Well, Challenges is about a former tennis player played by Zendaya. She marries a current tennis player whom she met when she was younger in college. He has a best friend who's also a tennis player. So they have this like friendship based on the game of tennis. Of course, in their younger age, they experiment with one another emotionally, physically. But overall, their relationship always revolved around the game of tennis. We flash back and forth a lot through this film, following their lives of where they were, where they are, and where they're going, and how their relationship has changed with one another around this game of tennis. And that's pretty much the only way I can explain it without giving any context.
So let's start there. The flashbacks. Flashbacks are tricky in a movie because not many people do flashbacks well. It's a lot of haphazard flashbacks. I think back to the original Suicide Squad.
Okay.
The flashbacks in the original Suicide Squad, I feel like they were sloppy.
Because sometimes they could just be cop outs and laziness just to storytelling.
Yeah. It was like I felt like you could have built that into the current timeline. You didn't have to flash back to it. In this movie, I feel like the flashbacks were so like cleverly placed to where if you know about how tennis works, if you know how tennis works, it was like a serve and volley or a rally. It was like a rally in tennis where the ball went over here and then the ball went over here, and you had to hit the flashback in that right spot.
Yep.
In order for the game to continue to play, right? And when I say game, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not just talking about the game on the court.
Yeah.
I'm not. And so I thought the flashbacks were really well done. What did you think about how they were able to incorporate the flashbacks throughout the movie? Because we got flashbacks that were 10 years before,
8 years.
And then we got flashbacks that were like last night.
Yeah. So I felt like, because like you said, flashbacks are tough, but after a while, I was looking forward to them. Because I felt like that's where the meat of the story was. Like, you knew where they were now, and that stuff was like not even that important to me as far as how did they get here? Because they don't really tell you how or why she ended up choosing the guy she marries. They never really tell you. They don't really show you that. They only, they showed a little bit of the downfall of what happened with the last friend. But they built that up. Like, they didn't really give you any of the how did these guys go separate ways until like the very third act, which was great. So they did a lot of the storytelling with the flashbacks. And I love that because, like you said, flashbacks can be useless, but in this case, they nailed the story. I don't know. That's some brilliant writing. Like, everything that you need to know is happening before.
Yeah, and I think that the flashbacks, how the time periods that these flashbacks exist in allow us to look into each character and what their psyche was, how they thought about not only life, but about the game and about game.
Yeah.
Right? Like, all three, like you got the look of what they like how these two men looked at this woman and how this woman perceived these two men.
Yeah.
And so like when you say they never really tell us how she ends up choosing him, I think we know. Like, we know the answer inherently in the way in which she operates.
Yeah.
Like you kind of go, oh, okay. Like, there's a level of control that she was never going to have with one that she had in spades with the other.
How I looked at it, and again, this is a spoiler. She chose the one who she knew would keep her around the game. Because to her, tennis was everything. Tennis was bigger than relationships. Tennis was bigger than just everything in her. That's all she cared about. She would get into arguments with boyfriends because it was the only thing that she ever talked about, and would almost to a point get insulted if you thought anything else was more important. And I feel like when she chose, I always forget Mike Foss's character name, Art. She chooses Art because he's the one that's more likely to keep her around the game. The one that's promising, more successful, who would probably keep it going and keep playing, while the other one was merely just playing for sport, just playing for fun. And I think that's the only explanation that I ever got from that. Like, why did she pick this one versus the other one?
Okay, so let's get nerdy, right? She the original choice of who I'm going to give my phone number to whoever wins, right? It comes because she wants to choose the best tennis player.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no doubt who the best tennis player is, who has the best natural gifts in the game. right? And that's the attraction for her.
Yep.
That he is the alpha when it comes to the tennis game, right?
You're getting deep already. I can
Yeah.
feel it brewing.
Yeah. The problem is he's also the most unstable.
Yep.
And so when she's when there and there are times where, like, ladies and gentlemen, like, God bless Zendaya, right? There's some times where if you love, if you love what you love, then you're gonna love Zendaya. But you're not gonna like her a lot of places in this
Oh
movie.
yeah.
Like, her character has some very unlikable traits, but all three of the characters do. And that's what's so fun about it. So when she chooses the first of the two friends, she chooses him because she believes that he has the higher ceiling, right? What she quickly realizes, probably on the bed when she wants to talk about tennis while they make out, and he just wants to talk about, like, how her in the relationship with his homeboy is, and she don't care nothing about that. She just wants to talk about this tennis. That's the turnoff where she goes, oh, he's not really serious about this game. Like, he's not really in this at the level that I thought he was in this. He's just in this for the game. He ain't in it or he's in it for the sport. He's not in it for the game.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, when all the things transpire and now she is in the parking lot with the friend, right? Fast forward a few years, the injury has happened. Her trajectory in tennis is no longer what it is. She's in the parking lot with the friend, and she's the first thing before she's in the restaurant with the friend, and the first thing that she's talking about is how to make his serve faster. Not how have you been, not what's life like, not hey, it's how you can make your serve faster, but I'm sure your coach is telling you that, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's already a move to this person takes the game more seriously than his friend did. And so now, as you said, I want to attach myself to that because that's going to keep me where I want to be, where I never want to leave.
It's
Right?
almost like a double entendre. Like, it's like in relationships, you know, and I'm going to generalize most people, not all women, not all men, but most people, usually it's always the attraction first. And then the physical is the good thing. Like that. He was a good performer. He was a good performer at the game, but sucked at all the other stuff. So for her to latch on to the first guy for his performance versus his longevity and you know, the one what do they say? The one that got away is the one who she ends up with because of his commitment to the game. So it's almost like her relationship was with the game, and she was looking for someone who had that special thing when it came to the game, not so much herself.
I think she would have been okay if they loved the game more than they loved her.
Yeah, I really do. I think so too.
Like, she would have been perfectly okay if either one of them would have said, "Hey, I love you, but I'm in love with tennis." Right? I'm in love with this game. And she would have most likely said to them, "So am I." I 100% understand, because this is how I am. The disappointment that the one friend didn't take the game seriously enough to reach its full potential, right? And then the disappointment that the other friend isn't committed enough to the game to ride it until the wheels fall off. Part of that comes because she never got the chance to take the game to the highest level, and now she's got to sit on TV. She got to sit and watch TV and see the girl that she used to smoke all the time winning Wimbledons and US Opens, right? Like there's a level of psyche that's got to play there where she was like, yo, this game that I love is bigger than anything else, bigger than my husband, bigger than my daughter, bigger than my mother, bigger than a relationship that I had. That's just what it is. And then there's the game that's being played. There's this game that's being played. So we talked about like the love for the game and how it permeates throughout the story, right? And how a lot of this is, okay, it's your move now, right? It's the ball just got hit to you. What are you going to do with the ball? Right? So the ball got hit to the first friend, the ball being Zendaya.
Yep.
Right? He mishits it. It goes out of bounds. The ball gets hit to the friend. He squares it up, hits it perfectly. He wins the point. And so now he's got the prize.
Yeah.
He's got the prize. But you can see the prize slipping away from him. Because he's starting to be erratic with the serve. He isn't as committed. He got injured. He may not be long for the sport.
I wish we would have saw that too. Like we didn't get to see the injury, what happened.
Yeah, I don't know if they wanted to show two tragic injuries. By the way, how they were able to show, they never tell you what happened to Zendaya, but I can tell you what happened to her because it happened to me twice. She ruptured her patella tendon.
Oh shit!
Like the way that the injury, the way they show the injury, you see how mangled the knee looks.
Oh,
That's
man.
how the knee looks when you rupture the patella, because the patella tendon is what holds the kneecap in place, and the kneecap is what's holding the structure of the knee together. So the fact that they were able to show that and make it look as mangled as it looked, and the scar that she has down the front of her knee is the same scar that I have twice down my knee. Like I knew exactly when she did it, what she did, because I've done it twice, right? And so, like, I think showing multiple, like, catastrophic injuries or what you think would be catastrophic would have taken the attention away from what the real goal was, which was to show the vulnerabilities of these three people in what they're doing. Like, one of these guys, you don't have to be like this. You don't have to live in this world. Right? So it's like, you don't have to live like this. You don't have to live like this. You're choosing to live like this.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. Like, and you know what's cool is like you don't even know that until that scene. Like, because we don't really know his background like that. I mean, he poked fun at it when they met her in the hotel, and he said that he was like I think he was talking about his family. He came from money or something like that. But you don't ever really see that until that one scene when she's confronting him on it. I thought that was cool. There's a lot of subtle storytelling going on, even with that that injury that Art goes through. Because remember when they're comparing injuries, and she's like, I didn't heal like you. I didn't heal fast like you did.
Yeah, I would have killed to have a recovery like you.
Yeah, recovery. Yeah. There's like a lot of subtle storytelling. Man, I just want to applaud the storytelling in this movie, man.
Absolutely.
Because it just hits on all angles.
A couple of things that I wanted to mention. There's a lot of dirty macking going on in here, right? A lot of dirty macking by one of the friends, right?
Yeah.
It's dirty macking by one of the friends, and it's rubbing it in the face by the other friend.
Yeah.
Which I think is really interesting when you think about friend dynamics, right?
Yeah.
She starts this off by saying, I don't want to be a homewrecker. In other words, she's telling them, yo, I know I'm me.
I'm gonna be with both of y'all.
I'm about to be with both of y'all. Like, this ain't like she went in and told them what was up from the beginning.
Yeah.
And to their credit, they were both like essentially cool with it. right?
I know.
Initially, but you can see the envy, right? From the sides, it was palpable. The first one is the initial friend who wins the game ends up getting the number.
Right? Patrick. His name's Patrick, right?
Patrick ends up getting the number, and he's able to, do what he's gonna do. He's able to score the winning points, right?
Yep.
So you can see the jealousy in Art as that happens. But then Art immediately goes to dirty macking. And for all of you people who don't know what dirty macking is, that's when you tell the girl or the guy, for ladies, that's when you tell them something and you shape it in a negative light to paint the other person negatively for the sole purpose of them looking at you because you don't possess those qualities that you talked about with the friend. It's straight
trying to sabotage.
Oh, it's some sucker stuff. It's some real legit sucker stuff that's going on, right? It was corny that the friend had to let his homeboy know that he did the thing the way he did it, right? Because it was a lot of gloating. There was a lot of like ha 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 in his bravado. Just the way he is like, of course I smashed, right? Like, of course I did. But for the friend to then turn around and dirty Mac, but then as it goes along, and he essentially knows that periodically she has slipped out with this dude.
Oh yeah.
Right? And yet the relationship is still the relationship. Right? Because his win is having her.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
His win is having her. No, go ahead.
And that was the biggest issue with her, because it was like he couldn't play the game unless he knew he was unless she approved of him. Like, he did everything. He played the game for her approval. He did everything for her approval, and even questioned her. That was like the crazy line when he was like, "If I don't win, will you leave me?"
Well, yeah, she told him, like, he was like, I remember he said, what will happen if I don't win? And she said, what do you want me to say? And then she was just like, hey, if you don't win, I'll leave you.
Yeah, straight up.
Like, straight up. Straight face, no.
And you can't tell if she's, and this was the confusing part for me, because you want to see good in these people. You want to. So I'm like, does she know him that well that she knows what to say to push him to be better? Or does she really not give a shit?
and the answer to both of those is yes. The answer to both of those, yes. Yes, she knows them both well enough that she knows what to say to pull the best game out of them. And she don't care. Like, if you two dudes are not going anywhere, I got you. Like, forever. I'm her. Like, even though
taking such good care of my white boys.
Yeah. Yeah, like, if you think about the way in which she approaches it, she is essentially saying, like, yo, it doesn't matter that I never became like Serena Williams. I'm her. Yeah. Like, even though I never ascended to like the fact that she's still wildly popular right now.
And she had endorsements, everything. She still
That's
had
what
deals.
I'm saying. Like, the fact that she's still wildly popular right now, it's amazing to me that they don't see it. Like, they don't, but maybe they do, and that's why they can't shake her. Like, that's why they can't get her out of their system, right? They can't allow themselves to see life forever without them. I think that both of them are comfortable with forever having whatever relationship they have with her. And she is 100% going to continue to bounce both of these dudes back and forth between each other for the rest of their lives.
Yep.
I bet. And I bet that night they all spent the night together.
Oh, right. After the win?
after whatever it was, we don't know. We don't actually know who won.
I thought Art won. I thought he spiked it. I thought he spiked it, and
he jumped
he went
up
over. Yeah, because he went
almost
over.
went over the net, and he got caught. Yeah. So like, what happened? Like, we don't know. We don't know what that point was. All we know is Zendaya was extremely excited about it.
Oh man, that was like the highlight of her entire moment.
yes. There are a couple pivotal like moments in this movie that I think are going to be like iconic. The one that sticks out to me is the rally that has the entire crowd encapsulated.
Oh,
and she doesn't even blink. She's not, like, the entire crowd, their heads are just going left to right to left to right. And she is looking directly ahead, like straight down the line.
Sometimes playing with her nails, looking up.
Like, this isn't it.
I need that as a meme. I need that GIF.
I know, right? I just need I need to, whenever I can get that, I'm gonna create one.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm gonna use for not being phased or not being moved, not being swayed by anything. It'll just be
whenever there's a beef or shade, I'm just gonna put that.
I'm just gonna drop that GIF in there, and everybody will know what it is like I'm talking about. But it was just that's a pivotal moment. What was another moment in the movie that you say, hey, this is Zendaya flexing that she is going to be a problem in Hollywood for the next 15, 20 years?
There was two. We talked about one of them, about the iconic scene when Art tells her that Patrick doesn't love her, and she says, who says that wants to be loved? And then even after that, when they're together, married with a child, and he says, I love you, and she says, I know, and keeps it moving.
very Han Solo-esque.
I'm like, what? I'm like, bro, leave.
Yeah. Like I'm not built like these dudes. I just want to put that out there. Like, I'm not built like these dudes. And I absolutely adore Zendaya. If she'd have pulled some stuff like that on me, I would have been gone.
It was so dismissive that it was like borderline disrespectful.
Absolutely.
And I felt that moment, like when he said that, because they were just having like a fight or something, and he just he buckled down, and he put his pride aside, and he was like, I love you, and she was like, I know, and just kept
moving. Like, no, that's really good. That's really good. There were I really appreciated how they were able to play young, right? To play young. They met like right before college, maybe a summer before college or a spring before college. And it goes up into, their 30s. He's 31. I remember he's 31 at the point where they are at this Challenger, and it makes me wonder, right? Because they allude to it, but they don't actually say it, right? Was this orchestrated by her the entire time? Like, did she orchestrate this game? Did she do all of this just to see them play at their best? Like, because that's what matters to her.
Yep. She wanted to get him back in his game, and she knew that he would not allow himself to lose to his friend in front of her. Especially as all of the revelations came out within the week, right? Mm-hmm. Leading to what I think is
what I think is the bossest move of all moves. Right? And again, these are spoilers. Get them ready. when and help me out. What is his name? Is it Patrick?
Which one? Art Patrick?
Patrick. Yeah, when Art wants to know if Patrick sealed the deal, right? He says, "Hey, just do what I do on my serve if you did. You don't have to tell me, but just do what I do if you did." And he does it. And then on game point, he lets him know, "Hey, yo, I smashed your wife last night." Like that was crazy.
That was fine.
That's crazy. That's wild. Like
fuck off.
Like, yeah, like in that moment to do that to somebody that you supposedly cared about, like at a high level, like that is one of the coldest moves. And then the response to just be, no, just take this point. No, I get, now I understand.
Yeah.
You were trying to give me this game, but nah, I don't want it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when she got into it.
Yeah.
When she knew that the cat was out the bag, they know what just happened last night. They know what just happened. And now that's where the magic for her happens. This has all been strategically like planned, and these strings have been pulled to a particular level the entire time just to get the best tennis game out of somebody. Like that's crazy to me.
She dude, she is so maniacal in this movie.
It's borderline sociopathic, right? It's borderline sociopathic.
Yeah. She's toxic, man. She's not good for that. I mean, they're just as toxic for one another, like as friends, but she was bad.
She's not good for them as people, but she's great for them. She's great for them as
a coach.
Like in the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's the crazy part.
Yeah, overall this movie, man, it just the way that it just talks about relationships as a whole. There's just so much to take, so much to unpack, so much to I'm telling you can't just watch this movie and expect to come out of it the same. If you go into this movie and you only took one thing away from it, then maybe you need to watch it again, because there's so many relatable moments for men and women in relation to just relationships as friends, relationships as partners, relationships as supporters, colleagues. Like it's just so many layers of things that I saw, so many like scenes that I'm like, wow, I've been there. I get that. I understand that. I know someone, or I've heard, or there's just so much in that I walked out of that movie changed. Like, wow, I just watched some good cinema, some good writing, some great acting. It's just so much. So Oscar nods, man. If this does not get Oscar nods, I will be so disappointed. So disappointed.
Hey, I can see a best original screenplay, right? I can see a best actress, right? I can see these things, like or supporting actors or whatever. I don't know how they're going to categorize it, you know what I'm saying? But
she's a star. There's no you don't.
Well, she's a star, but you
don't call her supporting actress in this movie at all.
Hey, listen, she's the movie.
Yeah.
She's the movie in this thing. And I just love when I get really good sports movies, right? The tennis looked real. The tennis didn't look fake or corny.
Sounded real.
Yeah, the sounds were real. The like the way in which they tried it a little bit with the trying to follow the ball, like got a little bit in for me. But outside of that, man, I really did enjoy this movie. It was an enjoyable movie that I will watch again many, many times, right? And ladies and gentlemen, trust me, we didn't give you a whole lot. Like I stayed away from some really tantalizing spots. The first 20 minutes, you're going to see some stuff.
Yeah, I
You're
was
gonna
just
be
thinking,
like-
I'm like, yo, we've been talking for 40 minutes, and I feel like we still left so much on the table for you to still go in and be shocked.
Because I
Right.
want the reason is because I want people to have that feeling about her that
Mhm.
you and I had about her from the moment she touches like the screen. Like from the
Yeah.
moment she hits the screen, you're like,
Electricity.
oh snap. Like this ain't Euphoria.
Because it's so much more than a drama. I feel like it's
Absolutely.
psychological drama. I feel like it's very psychological. Like you're not going, like I said, you're not just you gotta keep your senses open when you watch this film to really fully take it in. Don't go into this movie closed-minded because there's so much to take from it. In a great way. Like I really just feel like you can learn a lot about yourself just watching
And
this.
gentlemen, you got to go out and watch Challengers in theaters April 26th. You got to make sure that you follow my guy Clep Napier. Tell them everywhere that they can find you at, Clep.
Again, like Clep CX everywhere. I'm on every social media platform with Clep CX. That's KLEPCX. Or check out movie reviews, television news, pop culture stuff at wearecritics.com. That's my website. Yeah, man. And catch me at the next Comic-Con. I'm at every Comic-Con, big or small. So I'll be there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go on break. When we come back, I'll have Stone Labanowitz from ESPN West Palm joining me once again. That is Clep. Follow him at ClepCX. This is Talk Spicy on the Riptide Media Network.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have any body to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy. Coach Gene Clemens, joined right now by ESPN West Palm. What is it? 103, 106.3. Sorry, that's my dyslexia taking over. I guess 106.3. Mr. Stone Labanowitz, Stone Cold said so. That's why. One of the best, most underrated QB evaluators that I know. A lot of people talk the game, and I love the fact that there are more former quarterbacks getting into talking about quarterback play. It's one of my biggest issues in the entire eval, world that we live in, is we have so many people without any actual practical experience in these things trying to tell everyone like what these guys are supposed to do when they've never thrown a ball, caught a ball, blocked anyone, tackled, defended someone. And so it's good to see more people really take an interest in it, especially at the quarterback position, because people will have you believe that this thing is super hard. And I keep trying to figure out why everyone thinks it's so hard to find a quarterback. It's just hard to find a Patrick Mahomes. It's not hard to find a good quarterback. You just can't find a Patrick Mahomes because he's one of one.
I was going to say they don't exist.
Yeah, they're aliens. Like, that's like, you're not going to find another Lamar Jackson. I know there's some athletic black guys throwing the ball. They're not Lamar Jackson. Like, he's a one of one. And so I think one of the biggest issues I see in quarterback evaluation is everyone's looking for the diamond instead of looking for all this gold out here. It's like there's a ton of gold out here. You can pay your bills with this gold really easy, but everybody seems to want the diamonds. Is that something that you've noticed in the space?
Yeah, most definitely. And I think when you look around front offices, and right here I'm not speaking from experience, but it is very much the human side of it. People want to be right. People want to say, I told you so. So when you talk about looking for diamonds and looking for gold, yeah, you want to look for the diamonds. You want to be the one who says, I told you, this kid had it all, and watch what I can do with them. And there's so many kids that are just sought out to fend off on themselves, and there's so many different leagues you can play in now. So kids aren't really going to die if you don't make it to the NFL. There are other places to exist. But yeah, I think people want to call it the Pete Davidson effect, right? Kim Kardashian probably wasn't just attracted to Pete. She said, I can fix Pete. Pete's just ran through all of these women. Why? Because they can't hold him down. Watch this. I can do it. And that's what I think NFL GMs in front office, that's how they handle quarterbacks. So, yeah, I've definitely seen it. It comes up more and more often. When you talk about you can't find Patrick Mahomes, you can't find Lamar Jacksons. Who you can find are the Josh Allens, though, right? And he's still considered an alien. But you can find the 6'6", guy with a rocket arm. There are plenty of them that exist, but can you develop them? So the conversation is interesting, and this quarterback class is interesting, and I figure that's where we're going.
Well, yeah, and this quarterback class is interesting because I feel like this is a taste makers class.
No doubt.
Like, what's your taste? What you into? What do you like? Do you like you're into wine? You like a Pinot? You like you want a red? You want a white? You want something that's a little earthy. You want something that's got more fruit notes. I think it's whatever your taste is in this draft, you can find it at the quarterback position here. The problem I have is that everyone seems to keep wanting to talk about the same 4 or 5 dudes, the same 4, 5, 6 dudes. And every single year of the draft, we see somebody that is a day 2, day 3 prospect that ends up outperforming those top of the draft guys. So we know kind of the first 4 that's going, or at least that we think we know the first 4 that's going, right? Somehow JJ McCarthy has made this meteoric rise up the ranks in the offseason when he hasn't played any more football games than what he did when he was actually playing football games. We have Michael Penix and Bo Nix. Penix, who is being penalized because he was injured, oft injured at Indiana, but nobody seems to be able to figure out why he couldn't get injured at Washington for the last 2 years, playing in a much more competitive environment where he threw the ball all over the place. And then you have Bo Nix, who was downright awful for for years at Auburn, and then went to Oregon and became this something different, right? And so we know those guys, but then there's a bunch of other dudes that no one's really talking about as much, whom I believe have similar, if not better, traits than some of the people that we're talking about in that top 6. So for you, which guy would you point to and say, this is a guy that I'm pretty sure in 4 or 5 years, given the opportunity, is going to be looked at as, oh, you slept on this guy, or you passed on this guy for JJ McCarthy, or for Drake May, or any one of these guys that we're talking about at the top of the draft?
Yeah, for me, it's easy. It's Michael Pratt out of Tulane. And I think what he has above all the other guys, one, he's been at Tulane the entirety of his college football career. I think we're in the day and age now, and I think NFL coaches try to keep this close to the vest, but sick and tired of kids going left, going right. I mean, if you can have the right connect and that coach can instill the trust and faith that, hey, this kid's fine regardless of where he's been and what he's done, I've had my hands on him. Coaches can't guarantee that, though. Michael Pratt has been at Tulane forever. All-American type kid, 10,000 yards passing. Now, hyperbole a little bit, 96 and change, but still, this kid's played 4 years in an offense at Tulane. He has big game experience against USC, and they have him going in the 5th. I just like his game. Now, I'll say this, too. I think the greatest job in the United States of America is a backup quarterback in the NFL.
Facts.
We talked about maybe 4 or 5 years down the road, this person coming along. That's fine. Eat it your first 3 years. I mean, you'll be eating good, whatever you're being paid right now. It's the best job you could possibly have. I don't think Michael Pratt's going to go and start anytime soon, but we know it takes a hop, skip, and a jump and a rolled ankle to get catapulted into a lineup. We see it each and every year. By week 8 of the NFL season, half the quarterbacks are injured, and 12 backup quarterbacks get a start in week 7, 8, 9. We see it every single year. We just neglect to talk about it, and then we put backup quarterbacks kind of on the back burner. Michael Pratt's a stud, man. So when you go down the list of attempts to completions, the percentages up there, the touchdowns, Michael Pratt is a guy that I think has the build to go, and I hate to compare somebody to Chase Daniel. I do. But I'll compare him to somebody like Chase Daniel. The Gardner Minshew type, kind of the broad shoulder, wide body, is mobile enough to get outside the hash on a 3rd and 4 and get it done. And I think those are the guys that are going to start being successful in this league. And he's not a diamond. I don't even know if he's gold, but he's somebody you can develop into gold. I like Michael Pratt out of Tulane a lot. He's also a South Florida kid, went to Boca Raton High down here in my neck of the woods. So plenty of people giving him the nod of approval and have had eyes on him all throughout. And he's come back down and trained in South Florida. I like Michael Pratt out of Tulane.
And that's interesting, because I think not only, you have a guy who was willing to like stick it out and be at the school that he was at and bring them to a level of success that they haven't seen. But then he also plays in a pretty dynamic offense. Like
100%.
He plays in an offense that I believe that the NFL needs a guy who can operate in that mode, who can't just stand back there like a statue and throw the ball, but also can make, off timing throws, who also can break the pocket and make something happen with his feet. You don't have to be Lamar Jackson to be effective with the feet. Aaron Rodgers has proven that for years, right? Like Aaron Rodgers is a guy who people always say, oh, well, his athleticism. Like, if we're being honest about it, Aaron Rodgers he's not a 1% athlete. Come on. But he's athletic enough, and he knows when to use it. He knows how to use it. I think Pratt's similar in that way.
The athletic enough phrase is underrated. I think athletic enough is almost, I said underrated, but it's understating the fact. If you're athletic enough, you can pretty much do everything. It's all timing based. It's all opportunity based. Athletic enough is good even for the National Football League.
I think it's interesting what you said about Josh Allen. and the fact that Josh Allen isn't the anomaly, in the fact that you can find Josh Allen's all over the place. There was a quarterback, his name escapes me right now, coming out of Buffalo. Very similar measurables as Josh Allen when Josh Allen came out. I believe he either came out the year after Josh Allen or maybe even in the same draft. They moved him to tight end immediately. Like, didn't even give him a chance at quarterback. And he actually had better passing numbers than Josh Allen did in college. But it's like, you have to be willing to give somebody that chance, right? You have to be willing to allow them the opportunity to mature the way you allow a Josh Allen the opportunity to mature. And that's why Milton is so, that's why he's so yummy, right? Or we can just use all that size and that athleticism right now. I think he's going to be helped by the fact that nobody's going to try to move him to a tight end now. Like, those days are probably over, but I think he would be getting more prospect love. I mean, if he had a little bit less hue on his skin. Because what was Josh Allen? Like, why did people think that Josh Allen was going to be good? Like, everyone's patting themselves on the back for it, right? But the truth is, he was never good in college.
And you just said it, right? Because he's white, and we're definitely not splitting this down and talking about race here, but because he was white, right? You would say, well, he's cerebral, right? Right? He's good above the shoulders. Completed 54% of his passes.
Yeah, it wasn't good above the shoulders.
No, there were plenty of turnovers. Plenty, I'm sure, of boneheaded mistake if you really went and broke down that tape. So you're right. From a player comp perspective, give me the difference between Jalen Hurts and Joe Milton.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not looking for an answer because I'm not sure there is one.
No. I don't
Joe
think
Milton's
there is
6'5",
one.
230. Jalen Hurts, very similar. Both clang and bang the weights around, and I think they're not straight line runners, but they're definitely more than mobile and have big arms, man.
Yeah, and I think the only difference is the proof of concept.
Sure.
Right? Like,
that's backed by Nick Saban.
Jalen Hurts won at a high level at Alabama, then turned around and went to Oklahoma and was a Heisman Trophy finalist, right? That's the difference. Joe Milton never was able to break in at Michigan because they're looking for something different at Michigan. And then
somebody to hand the ball off.
Yeah. They just weren't looking for his dynamic. They weren't looking for high risk, high reward out of the quarterback. They were looking for safe, like just don't mess it up kind of guy. And that wasn't Milton. It wasn't Milton at Tennessee, but there were opportunities for massive explosion plays that he brought to the table.
Perception is key when it comes to this kind of stuff, and I hate that we let mass media push narratives, make you fall in love with one guy, make you hate the other. It's brutal. It really affects quarterbacks and their future. When you talk about that college to NFL transition, there was nothing, and I mean nothing, if you're looking at it from a pure quarterback perspective, a pure prospect perspective at the quarterback position, that made Anthony Richardson awesome and sought after. There's nothing. There was nothing there at all, but you knew what could be there. So the fact that people aren't willing to give Joe Milton that same energy and that same attention, it's frustrating because Anthony Richardson, it's not like he was successful at Florida. It's not like he was winning a bunch of games. He wasn't doing that at all. He never won a big game. Flashes here and there. They both play in the SEC. They both, have the same tape, play the same opponents, similar defensive styles that they've gone up against right now. But it's what we're told to like. Anthony Richardson, the PR machine, was churning this entire draft process last year. That how good of a kid he was. He stays late, cleans the locker room, and he killed his interviews. He kicked ass. That's all stuff that your agents and that media members who are tied in are telling you to make you fall for that stuff. And all the meanwhile, Joe Milton gets the opposite treatment right now, and it's going to hurt him, and it's unfortunate.
I want to get to the FCS because obviously shout out to FCS Nation Radio and FCSNationRadio.com and all of the things we're doing over there. And full disclosure, because I want people to be behind the curtain on some of this. Stone and I go at it. Like This is not some love fest where we're like always agreeing, like always on the same side.
No.
Stone and I go at it. But the one thing that I appreciate about Stone, and I think this comes back to being athletes and playing on a team, right? I envision being in a huddle with Stone. We run a play. I think I'm open. I come back to the huddle and go, hey, yo, Stone, throw me the damn ball. And Stone looks at me and goes, get open. Right?
100%.
And we have that conversation, and then we just go back to the right. We just go, all right, time for the next play. Because I feel like one of the things that we don't get enough in our society is the ability to disagree, like have it out, and then just let that shit go. Like, it's not really that serious. Like, at the end of the day, once you say your piece, once you've made it known, and the other person respects you enough to where they can listen to your piece, all right, you said it. I'm going to say what I need to say, and then that's it. Like, we don't get that enough. And the Twitter tough guys, the X tough guys, the social media tough dudes who are out there talking all of the things, and then when you see them in person, they act like they don't see you because they don't want that level of confrontation. And me, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Hey, this is me. Hey, how you doing? What's up? So I appreciate that about Stone. And so getting to work with him at FCS Nation Radio has been a lot of fun. Getting to know him better, getting to spend time with Kevin, and all of the new guys that are coming in over there. Yep. It's going to be a really great year. So if you haven't already, make sure that you are going and just bookmark FCSNationRadio.com so you're getting all of that content that will be popping out here.
Everything that you just said about yours and I's relationship, I think can be translated over to what FCS Nation Radio is. There's not enough voices that cover the subdivision, and people aren't willing to have those conversations. And I think our platform allows people to do that, a lot of the uncensored side of things, because for a division of football that's not covered enough, like I just mentioned, you hear one or two people's voices and you take that for gold and you act as if that is fact because you know no better. But with the team that we have and the free dialogue that we have, even on social media platforms, whether it's right here on Talk Spicy, on the Twitter timeline at FCS Nation Radio 1 on Twitter, it's an open forum. And I think that's what the FCS needs, because you can hear one guy's voice and one guy's take, but you can also hear 12 differing ones and pick which one you like the best and which one you think holds up the most. And also, if you don't agree, let us know, and we're going to holler back at it. We put in the time, we put in the effort, and we speak to the right people, and we have the right connects, and there's just not enough big entities covering the subdivision, and that's why we're growing this team and building this team. But it's uncensored, and it's a lot of open dialogue, and I think that's why we can nail it down and get it the closest every single time.
Yeah, and also I think what helps is that we're not just talking about the same 3 to 4 teams all day.
Ever.
Like yo, listen, we get it, Bison fans. Y'all are proud. You've been good. You've been great. But we can acknowledge your greatness and recognize that you have holes that need to be, that need to be filled. And so I think that's the best part, is that you have a group of people who are, well, I shouldn't say a group. You have some people who are willing to, say something against the blue bloods of the FCS. And then you have other people who are willing to bang the table for them. And I think that makes for great discourse.
Yeah, and the coach Gene Clemens 8 months ago is going to tell you about a guy named Jalen Coker and a Holy Cross team. And you're going to see Jalen Coker's name possibly run across the ticker when it's come time for people to be drafted or not. He's going to be a free agent. He's going to land somewhere, and in 3 or 4 years, there's going to be a certain somebody say, I told you so. I tried to tell you that this Holy Cross team and this Jalen Coker kid was the real deal. And I think that's the time, right? We dig deeper than anybody else that covers the subdivision. So doing our homework and putting it on paper.
Absolutely. So with that, which FCS player that's draft eligible this year, which one do you believe will be the person that hears their name called first?
Personally, I want to say Mason McCormick out of South Dakota State. It's a popular name. The kid had one of the most phenomenal draft process as we've ever seen. But it's Kieran Amagaji. It's the big dog on the right side, left side, moving back and forth. Started at guard at Yale. All is 6'5", 330. The same conversation we had about quarterbacks can be had about Kieran. He's raw. He's far from polished. But he's cerebral. He went to Yale. His story's kick ass.
The story of him is the kick, right?
And
that's what.
And the NFL, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a business and they invest in those things, but they do. They want that story. You strap up a helmet for the first time in 8th grade. Your parents never wanted you to play the sport, this, that, and this. Chicago, not really a sought-after recruiting area, but this kid sprouted up. And think about it. I was a part of this process right here, but in 2020, when he landed at Yale, they didn't even play a football season due to all the COVID. So you have a kid who now just invests his time into investment banking at Yale. And, I get to play football again. Here we go. Kid's a monster. Some of the tape is hilarious. It looks like when you're watching, it's clear that he hasn't reached his full potential. And I think I talked about earlier about quarterbacks that NFL front offices, GMs, head coaches, they want to be right. This is one of those kids you want to be right on. You want to have a Yale guy come to your locker room and end up being a Hall of Famer because you want to be like, yeah, I do my research and I dig into the Ivy League. So Kieran Amagaji is a stud. I can see him going. He also started, my favorite thing about him, he started at guard at Yale and now moved over to tackle. And for offensive line coaches, that's huge. You got to be foot savvy to play guard in the first place at the college level, moving all over the place. And in today's game, right before he graduated, you got double guards, you got center guards on the move and reaching the next level. And that wasn't a thing back in the days. So for starting at guard, going to tackle, I think that helps him a lot. Kieran Amagaji's a stud.
I agree. I agree that with those two offensive line prospects, it comes down to one has an unknown ceiling. And one may already be at its ceiling. Like one guy may already be there. The difference is Mason McCormick might be at this ceiling for the next 10 years. And I think that ceiling is good enough to be a starting day one NFL offensive lineman right now. I think that he is a plug and play offensive lineman in the NFL.
He's a better prospect than Cody Mock was out of North Dakota State. And Cody Mock's in the lineup each and every week.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of those, he's one of those guys, and you've seen it all over the place. He's one of those guys where every year he's gonna win the job, right? He's gonna get drafted by someone, probably on day 3. He's gonna get drafted by somebody. Everyone's gonna say, oh, well, it doesn't look that impressive. And he's just gonna keep finding a way. He's gonna end up in the lineup, and every year they're going to try to find a way to replace him. And never will they ever be able to replace him. Like, he will always be the guy that they go, yeah, we could upgrade at that position, right? And every year he'll just be starting. Like, I see him, like, no lie, I see him having at least a 10-year career and probably starting somewhere around 6 to 7 of those years. Like, barring injury, I see him carving out a really nice, really profitable existence for himself at the NFL. That's how high I am on him. And I ain't out here giving these offensive linemen at the FCS level all this love, because some of these dudes that be coming out here starting, I'm like, yeah, okay, stop it.
You said a few things that I want to harp on. One, I played South Dakota State 4 years of my college career, and every time I broke down tape or it was game week, looked around, these guys aren't that impressive. But that's what makes them and Mason McCormick so good, because you can't really see it until you see it. And I think that's what the NFL is looking for, right? You're looking for that guy who's not, especially in the trenches. Why am I drawing a blank on the Indianapolis Colts? What is he, a center or guard? Notre Dame. We should not be drawing a blank on him. He's one of the best.
I was about to say McGlinchey, but it's not McGlinchey, and I can't even think of his name because McGlinchey is a guy. But regardless, it'll come back to me. Go ahead.
It will. You can put him in a lineup and not pick him out. You're not going to know his name. You can't walk up on the street and show that Colts guard to somebody and then be like, "Oh yeah, that's him."
Quentin Nelson.
Quentin Nelson. You put him in the lineup. Honestly, me right now, if you put him in a lineup with guys that look like him I might miss. And same goes for Mason McCormick. And that's not necessarily a knock. It just is what it is. And it's the nature of playing offensive line. But he's the lunch pail kid.
Yep.
Quentin Nelson. So is Mason McCormick. So I think that plays into it for him, and it'll play into his favor, like you said. So I'm all on board with it.
Yeah, and I think playing in the elements, playing where he's played at, makes him uniquely suited. I think that these offensive linemen, it's why it's difficult for those offensive linemen that come from the South, right? Because at some point you're going to have to put your hand in the dirt when the dirt is 32 degrees,
yeah,
right? When the dirt is 22 degrees. How do you respond to that? How do you continue to get down into that stance? I think all of that stuff matters. And a guy who's used to playing in those elements will not be shocked by it, and it won't be hard for him to adapt to anything that he's going to see out there from a condition standpoint.
And I think fundamentally, when you're grading players from the FCS, I mean, because you do it at the FBS level, what conference did he play in?
Mm-hmm.
It's not as easy to do that in the FCS because I'm sure coaches aren't familiar with the Pioneer League, or they're not giving as much time and energy into the Pioneer League or some of the others.
Yep.
But in Mason's case, when you're looking at an FCS prospect, you first watch the tape, interview him, and then you're going to ask yourself, where did he play and did he win? And for Kieran Amagaji's case, no, he didn't win. And there was a year and a half where he didn't even play. But for Mason McCormick, you can guarantee that he knows what winning feels like. He knows what winning a lot of games feels like, and he knows what being a front runner feels like. Everybody in the NFL is a front runner. You were a front runner at your high school. You were a front runner at your college, and most likely a front runner if you're a part of the 53-man, 54-man, you are. So I think for Mason McCormick, he checks that box, that he's a winner and he's played in big games and he's played in the best conference in all of the FCS in the Missouri Valley. So all the boxes are checked for Mason. And he, like I said, he killed it at the draft or the combine. He murdered it. His scores, the bench press, everything he needed to do,
Off the
he
charts.
did very well.
Off the charts. I'm going to get you out of here on this. If you're an elite FCS prospect, are you trying to find a quality FBS home if you're going into your final season? Like, are you trying to get to an FBS, or are you staying put and, just letting the chips fall where they may? And it made me think about this because when you look at what Grant Nelson, the hooper from North Dakota State, was able to do just by transferring to Alabama, he has gone from a guy who probably was going to go overseas and play ball to a guy that's going to get drafted and most likely get drafted in the first round. Like, is that something that a lot of these FCS guys are now going to really be considering going into their senior year or their final year of eligibility, regardless of how much success they've had at the FCS level?
Can I talk spicy?
Of course.
If I was an elite FCS prospect, would I take my talents for a plethora of reasons to the FBS? Absolutely the fuck not. Absolutely the fuck not. I'm going to use Mark Gronowski for an example. It's resurfacing now. This Northwestern quarterback hit the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. What does this mean for Mark Gronowski at South Dakota State? I'm going to tell you right now, it means nothing. Mark ain't going to Northwestern. And if he does, I hope he doesn't hear this. But think about what could happen to your legacy. If you're an elite prospect, you have somewhat of a built-up legacy already. You want to stay and play at South Dakota State back-to-back, MVP in both, running back a third time, the viewership, the attendance at your games. You will be remembered forever, Mark Gronowski, forever. For what it's worth to you, you will be remembered forever. Your work life after college will be a lot easier if you stay and play. There are going to be people wanting to throw that NIL money you thought you were going to get over here in the FBS at you when you walk across that stage and you leave that campus. You're going to get it. It will come to you. You have a degree.
Gronowski's.
Yep.
Like, you're opening up a Gronowski's right there in town.
And you can make as much money as you want. Just sign. There are going to be blank checks handed at you. Just wait for it. That's how it works now. You want to stay and be remembered forever. And I know how corny that sounds, but it is worth a lot. People will remember you and who you were in 10 and 15 years. When I'm trying to find a player comparison or a kid's on film, I'm going to bring up Mark Gronowski, right? Because at this moment in time, he's probably the standard. I'm not saying he's the best player. I know me and you both don't think he's the best player in the FCS right now, but he's somewhat the standard at the quarterback position. He's the most consistent. We can go down the long laundry list of things that he does really well, and it is long. Or do you go to Northwestern? You're probably playing at times in front of less than you are at South Dakota State, and I know that seems tricky. And that may not be true, but it will feel like it in an empty stadium. I'll tell you this, I didn't watch a single Northwestern game last year. Not a single Northwestern. And I have FBS fans who aren't fans of the FCS and don't watch it, who watch South Dakota State games. And they left knowing who Mark Gronowski was. And I just think if you're not worried about the money, if you're not chasing the bag or trying to put your family in a good spot, then you don't leave the FCS. Light it up. If you think you're that good, they'll eventually find you. Or if not, you can go get paid to play at the next level. The list of guys that the FCS has projected to either get drafted or go undrafted, they're kids that we've seen come up the ranks and that we know can play. And now these FCS schools are getting a lot more opportunities to play against the FBS. North Dakota State, got a feeling they're going to beat Colorado week 1 on the road.
We are on the opposite sides of that feeling. We are on the opposite sides of that feeling. Remember when I said, like, you know, some of these offensive linemen, I'm like, like, I really believe that Colorado is going to look to make a statement because, like, even if the trenches are able to hold up, which I think they probably will be able to hold up.
I know.
That rocket fuel they have on the outside, like, good luck.
So let me not just say win, but we'll have the opportunity to win on a national stage.
Absolutely.
Like,
I think they will comport themselves well.
And that's
I
what
would be
it's
surprised
about.
if they get mollywopped. Like, if they just get mollywopped, I'd be surprised.
Here's my real answer on it, too. Hire a damn social media team. Put some money, some manpower into promoting your team and your players on social media.
Yep.
Do that. Do that. The popular ones, the ones who have a personality, who are a really, really funny and cool character, will shine. They will pop. People will fall in love with them. The NIL deals will come because of what you're doing and how you're presenting that certain player on social media, and they're running to Northwestern to get $125,000. Well, Frito-Lay will give him $75,000 because he gets off the bus with a Frito-Lay bag every single home game.
Every single home game.
So many ways to go about it, and the FCS drops the ball. You got people who are 50 years and older running social medias for these FCS teams. None of it high def, none of it 4K. These players aren't mic'd up. You give me 4 swipes on Instagram for pregame. I don't know any of these players. I know one of your wide receivers because he had 200 yards receiving 3 weeks ago. That's all I know. So put some money, some manpower. Let the Gen Zs handle the social media and all the fun, trendy videos and audios just so we don't have to. And these players, let them market themselves, and they will because they're right there, and they're all just waiting to be marketed. Now they're running away because they need it, and it's over there.
Yeah, I agree. Stone, tell everybody what they can see you at, where they can see you at, where they can hear you at, what you got going on. Let them all know.
Socials, Twitter, Stone Labanowitz, 2 Z's. Social, Twitter, Labanowitz Stone. Instagram, Stone Labanowitz, 2 Z's. Get it popping down here in South Florida, ESPN West Palm Beach, and FCS Nation Radio, South Florida Express, the number 1 7-on-7 team in the country down here. Some of the best prospects that you will be watching on Saturdays and Sundays. Yeah, man, social media. I'm live. I'm active, and I am watching tape on quarterbacks all day long. I'm even home right now, 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. That's rare. But I was watching Michael Pratt all day, Tulane. He's going to get picked up, and we'll see him in 4 or 5 years. I said that earlier.
Yeah, lock it in. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Stone Labanowitz. I appreciate it, Stone. I look forward to talking with you soon, and I can't wait to get back into the football season again. Like, we're just knee deep in football again.
And we're so close.
We're so close. We're so close.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Next, I'm going to be talking to Malik Spann of Blitz Magazine, talking a little boxing, talking a little NBA playoffs. You guys stay tuned.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute? When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Spicy, a Riptide Media Network production. I am Coach Gene Clemens. As always, make sure that you are listening to us on the 102.9 the fan, 102.9 the game app. Download that anywhere you get your apps from. You can holler at us from there. I am joined by a man who has been in the game, a Philly legend. You might know him as the president of Blitz magazine. I know him as my guy Malik. Malik, thank you for joining me.
Indeed. Officially smart people in the building, my man Gene Clemens. Yo, feels so good to be back with you, bro. Indeed.
Hey, I always know it's real when I officially smart people in the building. We're way up. We up here now. I love it.
Oh yeah, we go way beyond the whistle. Smart people stay in the building, baby.
There we go. There we go. Like it's when I've been watching the NBA playoffs. You know, I've been locked in on the boxing, and I'm really into all of the combat sports, but been locked into boxing lately because I feel like they've had the opportunity for a resurgence, a renaissance, right? I think it all stems from you know, Ryan and Tank deciding that they were going to mix it up, right? Ryan really deciding he was going to step into the ring versus a dangerous opponent. Tank, to a certain extent, the saying, hey, I'm willing to step in the ring with a dangerous opponent. Then we came back with more and more, obviously culminating with Terrence Crawford, absolute dismantling, you know what I'm saying,
of Errol Spence,
which you and I were both saying this ain't gonna be hard work. Like it's gonna be light work. Like anybody who knows enough about fighting, I don't even know if you have to know enough about boxing, but I think anyone who knew enough about fighting could see that this matchup wasn't really what a lot of people was telling us the matchup was. And so, you know, we got that, and then we've continued to get some signature boxing moments outside of the sideshows of your Jake Pauls and your, you know,
right.
The Gypsy
KSI,
King,
KSI, all those jokers,
and then, you know, MMA guys coming over to box and all that. We've gotten real legitimate boxing. And this past weekend, we got Devin Haney versus that same guy that was willing to step in and fight Tank, right? Ryan Garcia. Now, I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay.
I said yesterday on the podcast when I was talking boxing, I said, to me, the Ryan Garcia game plan started long before the fight, and it's the ending didn't end with the win. Like, this is a long game that he's playing, and he's played it to perfection. The only thing that I can't rock with is missing weight. It's just unprofessional. I don't rock with it, because that's a part of your sport. And if you don't want to fight at that weight, then don't fight at that weight. Like, if that's not what you want to do, if you don't want to put your body through it, I don't think you should. I think there should be more natural people fighting at their natural weight. But if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. But coming in 3.5 pounds, I don't think people even realize how egregious 3.5 pounds is. Like in the fight game, how much you have to do in a short amount of time to try to get that 3.5 pounds off of you. That would have been a crippling weight cut to get that 3.5 pounds off last minute. And he was just like, nah, I ain't even going to try.
All right, so let's talk about a few things. You touched on a lot of things right there, right? So credit to Ryan and Tank. Around this time last year is when it all started, right? Around this time last year, the hype between Tank and Ryan started, and they had that mega fight, and that actually led to a trickle-down effect of lots of major fights happening, and the eagerness of promotional companies wanting these fights to happen. So, so we're right where we're supposed to be. And let's get into this weight thing, because I want to talk to you about the weight thing. Let's touch on the Errol Spence part, because I want to make this point. I don't think a lot of people talk about it. Errol Spence has been a weight bully for a long time at the welterweight division. He's only fought at welterweight his entire career. And for someone his size who walks around my size, about 5'9", 5'10", 185, imagine I'm going to have to cut 40 pounds every fight. So that's why towards the end of his reign at welterweight, Spence will normally come out and say, I'm only going to fight once a year, because I can only do this one time. I can only do this once a year. I can only drain my body. I can't do two and three fights a year. So the PBC, not saying the PBC, but its handlers pretty much said, hey, where you can make the most money, is pretty much as a welter. And we have to, and you have to fight like that once a year, you know, to keep the checks coming in. And for the most part, Haney was doing the same thing at lightweight until he said, I can't do it no more. I just can't do this no more. I'm growing too fast. I'm 25 years old and I'm growing too fast. I can't do it anymore. So he tries to go up to 140. Now, from what I hear and from what I heard, is that Haney had a really hard time making weight. I got 2 points on that. One, he has a hard time making weight because he's probably a natural welterweight. Number two, he had a hard time making weight because I don't think he trains as diligently as he normally would for a critical fight. And when you said that Ryan started preparing for this fight prior to, everybody got caught up in the antics, and so did Cam Haney. They're thinking that Ryan's not taking this fight seriously. He's out partying, he's smoking, he's drinking, he's doing all these crazy things, he's tweeting, at 2 and 3 in the morning, Twitter battles, beats with all this kind of stuff like that. But what he was doing was he knew what his limitations were. Whereas Haney's team had a formula, and they got so caught up in the minutia and in the nonsense of Garcia is that they didn't stick to their formula, which was an 8 to 10 week training camp. You know, staying focused, making sure he makes. And that's the reason. So I'm hearing that Haney had a hard weight cut. I'm saying pretty much because of the fact that he didn't stick to the script. And if you remember, in Garcia's last fight, it wasn't at 140. It was supposed to be at 140. But 2 days or 3 days before the fight, once they realized Garcia wasn't going to make weight, they changed the terms of the fight and made it 143, which is the exact same weight he came in at this fight. So, like, this is pretty much was all planned out. I never thought, once I saw the goofiness throughout the course of the week and I saw Ryan's body, I said, there's no way he's making 140. When he said that, I'm just going to pay you the 150 like the press conference about making, he said, listen, watch the last press conference. It's crazy, right? He said, I'm going to make weight. So Haney said, don't worry about me. I'm going to make weight. He said, anything over 500, anything over a pound, you owe us 500 grand. And Garcia's dad said, don't make that bet.
Yeah.
Garcia's dad was like, oh, don't do that. And then he said, no, I got it. Garcia's dad said, don't make that bet because he knew his son wasn't going to make weight.
Hey, press pause right there. Press pause right there. So I said, I don't think he ever intended to try to make the weight.
I don't think so either. I
think that all of the antics, all of the things that he did was to get Devin Haney to go, oh, this is easy money.
Yep.
Right? That this is an easy fix. That we can just get this easy money. And you know as well as I do in sport, when you don't respect the opponent, that opponent will come in and that opponent will take advantage of you because you haven't prepared the same way that the real killers prepare. Like,
exactly.
It doesn't matter who you are to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was trying to kill you, but he is a rare breed, right? The great ones, they don't take anybody for granted. They kill everything. The guys who are good, they'll take their foot off the gas. They'll lighten up a little bit. And that's what he did. And so I think that Ryan Garcia's idea was, oh, I'll give this 1.5 million up because the only goal for me in this is to win. I turn one fight into two. The second one, I'm going to get paid 5x what I got paid this fight because now it's an appetite for it. Oh, well, Ryan is the real. He can walk around. I guarantee he's going to walk around going, I'm the real champ. I beat the champ. I'm the real champ. His social media is going to go crazy. So he's going to make tons of money off of that. The promotion is going to go crazy. His own individual branding and the types of endorsement deals that he's going to be able to garner from a rematch in this sense. The lead up to it, it's all cash registers going off. Ching, ching, ching. So I think this was a part of the game plan. Yo, how can I milk this to where when we come back, number one, it's not going to be at 140, right? I'm not like it's going to be where I say it is. I'm dictating these terms, right? Because now he's got something to prove. I said if Devin Haney really wanted to be a real one, he'd have caught the fight off. Yeah. If he really wanted to be a real one, hey, yo, you playing with me, man. I'm a professional out here. Gone.
Yep. They won that money. They won that bread. They thought he was sweet. They thought he was sweet.
And the entire time, there's a reason why Tank circled to his left the entire fight versus that dude. Why? Because he didn't want to get hit with that left hook.
Yep.
So you saw him. He purposely he would sit down, throw a punch, and when he landed, he would immediately circle out to the left because he knew the left hand hook counter was coming. People don't give Tank enough credit for his intelligence.
His ring IQ is out of sight.
Absolutely.
And Tank said, and listen, I respect Tank as a great fighter. I don't like how they moving as a fighter, his management, but I respect him as a great fighter. And I do think Tank can win big fights. But one thing Tank said before Ryan, he said, Ryan might be goofy, and I know I'm going to beat Ryan, but I'm not sleeping on Ryan. That's the one thing Tank said. He said, I'm not sleeping on this boy because I know Ryan can hit. I know Ryan can punch. I'm not sleeping on this boy. And that's the exact mistake that Team Haney made. They came in sleeping on Ryan Garcia, thinking that he was sweet. Devin Haney came in there thinking that he can fight a fighter when he's a boxer. It don't matter. Listen, sometimes you got to do what you do. All this, I'm going to meet you in the middle of the ring and blah, 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 blah. That played right into Ryan's hands. And then he got into a fight. In 30, 40 seconds into the fight, he wanted to start a fight. And the first thing you see is Haney get caught. The first thing you see, the first big punch of the fight is Haney getting caught with what? The left hook. The punch that you knew that was coming the entire time. So then Haney tries to box for the next 5 rounds, does a solid job, but then guess what happens? Sloppy footwork, a fight breaks out. And once he caught him and the fight broke out, a real fight, Haney's not really a fighter. He's a boxer, and there's nothing wrong with that because his skill set and his talent shows that, listen, I can beat you off jabs, counters, and footwork. You know what I'm saying? That's what Haney does, and that is not a knock on him. If Haney can win, if he doesn't knock out another prime fighter, that's okay, right? But you know, you can't walk into someone's crib and think you're gonna tear it up and somebody's gonna fight you back. And that's what he did. He tried to walk into Ryan's world thinking that he was sweet, and Ryan told him, like, bro, you're not built for this. This is not what you do. You know what I'm saying? And Ryan just told after the 7th round, I gave Haney 1 round, and that was round 9, I believe. But round 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, I gave all those rounds to Garcia.
I think one of the things that we get messed up about boxing, right, is not everyone is supposed to win the same way.
Exactly.
Everyone's not designed to win the same way. There are gifts that God gave you, and then there are gifts that God gave him. Guess what? They gave that dude a left hand that's devastating. They gave you the ability to anticipate and counter. Do what you do because it works. It actually goes directly into what he does. It sets up what you should be able to do the best. You see the hook coming, you avoid, you counter. Every time he throws one hook, you should be countering with 2 to 3 punches, right? Because you don't possess that. You don't possess that power. Now, here's what I'll tell you, because I want to give Haney his just due. He had a lot of opportunities to get out of there. He had a lot of opportunities to just say, it's not my day. He had a chance to do what Ryan Garcia did.
Yep.
But instead,
he didn't take the easy way out. He actually really tried to fight his way through the fight.
He tried to fight his way out of it.
He tried to fight his way. I give you mad credit for that. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the problem. The only people who can fight their way out of this thing are people who possess the weaponry to fight themselves out of it. If you're not equipped with some legitimate hammers, you can't shoot your way out the club. Right? Like, you can't shoot your way out the club. He got into a gunfight with somebody who had a better gun than he did. Right? You can't do that. So now I got to give him props for being willing to take the flames, because he stood right in the fire. Like, even as he was getting knocked down, he kept pursuing. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? This is not your game. There was a world where he could have gotten knocked down a couple times and still won this fight.
Yeah, there was, but okay, so a couple things. The first thing about Garcia and Haney that I thought that Team Haney underestimated, and Devin Hill himself was, they forgot that Ryan is a great athlete. Not just a great fighter, but he's a better athlete. And maybe a better athlete. He's probably a better athlete than you. Not only that, I mean, like, he's probably like we get caught up on the black guy always being the best athlete, but in this case, you know, the Mexican dude was. You know what I mean? The American Mexican guy was. He has faster hands. He's just as big, and he's definitely stronger. We like those things aren't. But the reason why Haney, I think he couldn't go back to boxing is because after the 7th round, and that's the round that Garcia really should have finished him off, is that he never really got his legs back. He never really got his full composure back. He never really. I mean, round 9, I thought he was a little bit better, maybe because Ryan was sort of like taking a break, a breather. But I never thought after the first knockdown that Haney really had his wits about him. And it was almost to the point where I got to survive this. Maybe if he can slow down, maybe if Ryan can slow down, I can jab my way through a victory. But Ryan just wouldn't let him do that with his strategy of just going straight in and attacking. And, and the fact that Haney kept his right hand low and he kept landing the hook. It was right there for him all night long. And Haney just didn't make the proper adjustments. And unfortunately, he paid for it. The good part about it is that Haney's still a great champion.
It's a free L.
It's a free L. He's still a champion. If he can honestly make 140, stay there. Fight guys like Sandor Martin. You got Matias there. Maybe you can talk Josh Taylor into a fight because he's a matchroom guy. I mean, there's still some legitimate fights for him at that weight. And just stay at 140 and go like undisputed. There's no reason to rush to welter if you're not built for that yet.
I'm gonna tell you, though, there are a couple things. I don't want to hear anything about. I don't want to hear you talk. Don't talk about. Don't say nothing about Tank Davis no more. I don't want to hear nothing. Nothing, because if Ryan Garcia is hitting you like that, I guarantee you Tank gonna find your chin.
Listen, styles make fights.
I guarantee it. Nah, man.
Styles make fights. Styles make fights. Listen.
Styles make fights, but when you have that,
sleep on Tank.
Styles make fights, but when you have that one punch, you go to bed type power. I don't care what nobody say. Oh well, his Tank's power probably don't travel. It's traveling to 140. I guarantee you that much. It ain't going nowhere.
You already beat Barrios.
Right? Come on. What we talking about here? It's going to 140. If he touch your chin like that, he gonna separate your jaw. He gonna have your jaw loose around here. And Haney, low key, has a really presentable jaw. That lower mandible is very presentable out there, and the way he carries it, he can't tuck it. It can't go anywhere. It's just there. The way his head is shaped, that chin is just there. So when you carry your hands the way he carries his hands, and when you jab out there and you don't use the textbook fundamental jab and cover, right? He jabs and he leaves the hand down. That's why he was getting caught with so many shots over there. And then if you get inside and it turns into a firefight, come on. I don't want to hear nothing. Listen, you know what? I want to see him and Shakur. You know why? Because it's going to be one of the most boring fights you ever watched in your entire life. Him and Shakur plotting around, trying to wait for somebody to make a mistake, trying to set a trap, all of that. These fighters have to understand who they are. You either going to be in the blood or you going to be in the sand. One of the two. You can't play in both worlds, because when the liquid and that sand come together, things get rough, right? You can't play a blood sport and then try to act like, you out here doing something brand new. It's only been one of those.
What?
It's only been one of those.
I got a fight for you. How about Teofimo? What about Lopez?
Teofimo and Haney?
That's a solid fight.
It's a solid
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that as my comeback. I would fight my mandatory. I would fight my mandatory.
Yeah, I'm about to say he gotta take the tune-up.
I would take a tune-up. I would take a confidence building fight if I was Haney. He's so young. You understand? He's 25. He's still a young boy.
Baby in the game.
So take your title defense against Sandor Martin. He's a perfect guy for you. Has a little power. He's going to try to come at you, but your overall skill set should be able to outlast him, and then start going after the guys like Tio. You know what I mean? I'll tell you another fight for him is cool. Is Pitbull Cruz. If Pitbull Cruz wins this next fight for him, I know that's a tougher fight than Sandor Martin. It's a unification fight, but I think Haney's size and the ability to just kind of like jab the shit out of Pitbull and just kind of like keep that range and just keep dropping that right on top of his head all night. I think Haney can win a 9-3 or 8-4 fight against Cruz. And Cruz going to make it exciting because he's going to have moments where he's going to catch Devin. So his chin will be tested again. I just think the skills will pay the bills in those kind of fights. I think Tio is something totally different. I think that's a bigger fight, but that'll be the fight. That's the redemption fight. If he can get 3 more fights out of 140, I think the Tio fight is the redemption fight after having a fight or two and fighting Tio maybe this time next year for Undisputed. I think that would be the best path for him. But for right now, he needs to take it easy. Take a couple deep breaths.
You got to get back in the lab. You got to get back in the lab. You got to go back to the fundamentals. You got to understand who you are. Now it's 2 ways. Now I agree. Got to get back in the lab, right? So either you go back to the fundamentals, you clean up the things that you clean up the things that you started lacking in because you started smelling yourself. This ain't bad, right? He had to take the fights that he was taking because he was on that trajectory as champion now.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I appreciate it. Okay, now you took a hit. It is a fair assessment for you to take a step back and go, all right, okay. All right, I did a little too much. Go back and get them fundamentals right. Or get your ass in the weight room. Start to be able to sit down on some of these punches you throwing so that when you get in a firefight, it don't feel like you slapping them with a towel and it feels like you hitting that man with a fist. That's the problem.
If that's the case, he got to go up to 147.
You got to go to 140.
If you really want Devin to start sitting down on his punches and being the stronger version of himself, he can't stay at 140. He got to go to 147.
This 140
somewhere closer to his natural weight, because the weight bully game, the way boxing is working out now is everybody wants to be a weight bully. Like everybody, they want to come in, stand on that scale for 1 second and say I'm 140 and then be 160 the night of the fight. You know what I mean? Everybody wants that. And that's, I think, is a dangerous way. I think the sport needs to take a deeper look at that. But, you know, if you want to see the best version of Haney to really come into his natural man weight, then say screw 140. Screw it. Let's rebuild ourselves at 147, even if it's going to take us a year, like 18 months, and bring in a new trainer too. And I'm not dissing his dad. His dad has done a remarkable job in building Devin Haney. But sometimes you got to take it to the next level. Like even Super Bowl winning coaches get fired, unfortunately, because the message needs to change a bit. You dig what I'm saying? And I think Haney can keep his dad on staff, but he needs someone else in his ear or in that corner who also understands what his strengths and weaknesses are, so he can maximize his full potential.
Hey, Malik, I'm up against it, man. We gotta get it out on here. We didn't even talk about Philadelphia basketball, but just real quick.
Got robbed last night.
You definitely got robbed.
We got robbed. The refs were horrible. And I'm gonna tell you real quick, right? Is that there's no way the Knicks should have less fouls than the Sixers. That's the number one stat that I saw, is that the Knicks only had 17 fouls all night. The Sixers had 21, and there's no way that you can watch that game and think that the Knicks was actually hacking less than Philadelphia. That's all I gotta say. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. I thought you guys got robbed. But you got to have somebody else step up. You can't be a two-person. This can't be a two-person game in Philly, bro. Like
it's true.
They gotta have somebody else step up and really like step into their own. Are you concerned, or are you like, oh, they just held serve and now we get to go back to Philly?
I have the held serve energy. I don't think the Knicks. First of all, you got people on their team that's playing over their heads a bit. Like Hart is playing a little bit overhead. Hartenstein had a 14-12 game. DiVincenzo has been solid all year. He's this good, but I think he's actually playing a little bit over his head. So they got some guys that's playing a little bit over their head. I think they come down to earth a bit in Philadelphia. The one point I want to make about Joel Embiid real quick before we lock is that Joel Embiid has to understand that he's the biggest guy on the court at all times. And you cannot, it's a 48-minute game. That means you got to be big for the whole 48. You can't be big for 47, because at the end of the game, when we needed one rebound, you let Hartenstein jump over you, grab a board, kick it out, make another pass, and they make the winning three. Bro, you got to own the glass. There were games where Kobe would dominate the scoring, and Shaq would say, every rebound from this point on in the game is mine. No one's touching anything
rebounds. That's the one thing that they don't ever talk about with Shaq. In the playoffs, it wasn't just this dude was scoring. He was getting 15 rebounds, 16 rebounds, 18 rebounds. Like, he was fly with it. So I agree with you. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, make sure y'all check my guy out at BlitzMagPrez on Twitter, everywhere you get your social media. Malik, I really do appreciate it.
Jay, man, much love and respect to you, bro. I really appreciate you keeping the dream alive, man. Indeed. Smart people are fixing the building. My man, Gene Cummins, right here. Yo, let's keep listening up, man. You know what I mean? Big things.
Absolutely.
Coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today on Talk Spicy. Thank you again to my guest, Clep Napier of Critics, Stone Labanowitz of FCS Nation Radio and of ESPN West Palm Beach, and of course my guy Malik from Blitz Magazine. Stay tuned to the channel. Bleacher Brothers are up next. They're always doing crazy stuff. They're making their inroads in Michigan. You gotta love it. Until next time.